In a time when African youths are losing faith in democracy, a 34-year-old captain with fire in his eyes and gun in his hands did the unthinkable. He overthrew his president, stood up to France and told the world Africa will no longer be anyone's colony. But who exactly is Ibrahim Traoré? Why is he being called the new Sankara or feared as Africa's next military strongman? And how did a young soldier from Burkina Faso become the most powerful symbol of Africa's rebirth? This isn't a story about just one man. This is a story of a generation's rage, a continent lost dreams, and a raw return of revolutionary fire. Ibrahim Traoré, born in 1988 in Bondokwi, a quiet town in Burkina Faso's Mohun province, he wasn't born into wealth or power. Like many children across West Africa, he saw struggle early. Poverty, poor infrastructure, and a country still licking the wounds of colonization. But one thing set him apart. From a young age, Traoré was obsessed with justice. Teachers described him as a sharp, disciplined, deeply cautious of his country's failures. He would later earn a place at the University of Ouagadougou studying geology. Yes, geology. But it wasn't just rocks that would define him, it was politics. At school, he became involved in student protests. He marched, he organized, he resisted. And when he eventually joined the army, he didn't leave the spirit behind. He carried it into war. In the 2010s, Burkina Faso was in chaos. The rise of the Jihadist insurgencies linked to ISIS and Al-Qaeda had turned vast parts of the country into war zones. Schools were shut, villages were abandoned, over 2 million people were displaced, and the government paralyzed, corrupt, and dependent on French military aid, which many saw as performative and even suspiciously ineffective. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, now serving in the artillery regiment, was on the front lines of those chaos. He didn't just see the sufferings, he lived it. He fought in some of the deadliest operations in the Sahel, and what he saw convinced him that his superiors weren't fighting to win, they were just maintaining the status quo. The Burkinabe soldiers, underpaid, under-equipped, began to whisper, what if one of us took control? What if we stopped waiting for France, for the UN, or for failed elections? Traoré, still in his early 30s, rose quickly in reputation among his comrades, not just for his tactical intelligence, but for his ideology. He believed in Pan-Africanism, in reclaiming Burkina Faso's sovereignty, in taking inspiration from a name that hadn't been spoken in high places for years, Thomas Sankara. Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader in the 1980s, had once called for Africa to decolonize its mind before being betrayed and assassinated. Now, decades later, a military captain was ready to finish what Sankara started. September 30th, 2022, the people of Burkina Faso woke up to an all too familiar sound: gunfire near the presidential palace. But this time, the face of the coup isn't an old general, it's a 34-year-old artillery captain with no political background, no official support, just his fellow soldiers and the people behind him. Captain Ibrahim Traoré had just overthrown another military leader, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Damiba, who had taken power only 8 months prior, promising security but had failed miserably. What made this coup different? It wasn't just a power grab, it was a rejection of foreign military dependence, of endless corruption, and of betrayal from within. Traoré's speech, delivered in military fatigues, no teleprompter, was calm, direct, and revolutionary. The fight of our sovereignty is non-negotiable. The liberation of our territory is our top priority. To the surprise of many, the people cheered. Young men flooded the streets, waving Burkinabe flags and chanting his names. Some even burned French flags outside embassies, a symbolic rejection of decades of foreign meddling. But it didn't end there. Damiba, the ousted leader, refused to step down. He tried to rally loyalists. In response, Traoré and his allies blocked road, seized national TV station and live broadcast updates, keeping the public informed every step of the way. And then the plot twist, Damiba fled to Togo. Traoré, in his early 30s, officially became the youngest head of state in the world. But what made people sit up and pay attention was not how he came to power, but why he did it, and what he promised to do next. Ibrahim Traoré didn't just stop seizing power, he began reshaping the national psyche. In his first public appearances, he referenced one name more than any other: Thomas Sankara, the legendary Pan-Africanist who led Burkina Faso in the 1980s, a man who renamed the country from the Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, the land of upright people. A man assassinated in a coup just after 4 years by those who he called brothers. Traoré's admiration wasn't symbolic. He vowed to continue Sankara's legacy, rejecting dependency from France, calling out failures of the ECOWAS and the AU, advocating for African unity, self-sufficiency and dignity. But Traoré went further than rhetoric. He cut ties with France military, ordered the withdrawal of French troops and shut down French state media. He also forced closer ties with Russia, Mali and Guinea, forming what many now call the new anti-imperialist axis in West Africa. He made Burkina Faso one of the few African countries to nationalize its gold mines, seizing control from foreign companies and redirecting profits into local development and defense. But perhaps what shocked the world the most was his humility. He refused to be addressed as excellency. He chose to keep his modest soldier's salary. He often appeared without security details, interacting with villagers, students, listening visibly and taking notes. But with every symbol comes a cost. Symbols are powerful, but they are also dangerous. Thomas Sankara once said, while revolutionaries as individuals can be murdered, you cannot kill ideas, and yet he was murdered by the very system he tried to change. So now the question that looms over Ibrahim Traoré isn't, is he inspiring? It is, can he survive? Because real power has enemies, yes. Since Traoré came to power, ECOWAS has grown increasingly uneasy. They fear a domino effect. Guinea, Mali, Niger, all led by soldiers with anti-Western rhetoric, a united front against the old African order. Meanwhile, Burkina Faso's economy still struggles. Terrorist attacks continue in parts of the country, and not everyone agrees with Traoré's pivot towards Russia and isolation from France. Then there are the internal threats. Some accuse his government of being increasingly militarized, suppressing dissent, arresting journalists, and controlling narratives. The same tactics once used against Sankara have been noticed again, but this time from within his own ranks. And yet, in the eyes of many, Traoré still stands for something greater than himself, a symbol that Africa's youth are done waiting. They are tired of imported democracy that never serves the people, foreign aid that deepens debt, puppets in suits who smile abroad and exploit at home. Traoré has no guarantee of success. He could fail, he could be overthrown, he could even be killed. But if history has taught us anything, it is even if a man falls, the fire he started can become an inferno. Because this story was never just about one man. It's about a new generation asking, what if we could dare to be different? What if Africa stopped waiting for saviors and started creating its own? If you found this story compelling, subscribe and join me as we explore more African stories that the world rarely tells. Rest in power, Sankara, and to Traoré, history is watching. While Traoré symbolizes hope and rebirth, Nigeria's leaders did the exact opposite by selling out the nation and crashing the naira. Tap on the video above to see how it all went wrong.